Hello and welcome to InSilicozy channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to install GROMACS Molecular Dynamics package on Linux and Windows. I also provide you a sample simulation input so we can test the program of the installation. I also show you how you can build a specific binary file of GROMACS from its source code, allowing you to create specialized versions of the program, including a GROMACS with GPU support. So let's get started with the lesson. Okay, let's begin with Ubuntu. Actually, installing GROMACS on Ubuntu is a straightforward task. All you need to know is how to use Linux package management system. And the Ubuntu package manager is apt command. Actually, in Ubuntu, there are two similar commands for installing software, apt and apt-get. If you use a recent version of Ubuntu, you can use either of them, but if you use a relatively old version of Ubuntu, you can only use the later, the apt-get command. And then we need to update the package manager database, and we can do this by sudo apt update command. And you need to enter your password. It takes a few seconds to complete. Now we can check which version of GROMACS is available in this version of Ubuntu. We can use sudo apt search GROMACS, and it shows that I can install GROMACS 2021.4 version. And if I check the official GROMACS website, I can see that GROMACS 2023 is available by now. So this version is not the latest version of GROMACS, but it's not a very old version of it. By the way, I'm in Ubuntu 2020.4, which is the latest version of Ubuntu, but here it's not the latest version of GROMACS, but it's not too old, and actually it's acceptable. However, if you want to have the latest version of GROMACS, you need to download the source code from official GROMACS website and compile it for yourself. I'll show you how to compile the GROMACS source code later on this video, but for now let's practice the easier method. Another point is that here there are two instances of GROMACS. One of them is only GROMACS and the other is GROMACS MPI. GROMACS MPI is a parallel version of GROMACS that can run on multiple computers and multiple CPUs simultaneously. But actually you don't need to install GROMACS MPI because this instance of GROMACS is also a parallel binary of GROMACS. I think it's an OpenMP binary, which means it can use all the CPU cores inside a single network node, but you can't run parallel jobs across a network. So now we only install the GROMACS binary by sudo apt install GROMACS. Okay, it's done. Now let's test the program by running a test simulation job. But before doing that, I just want to check where's the GROMACS binary been installed. And it shows that it's in USR bin folder. Okay, you can download the file from the link in the description box, and it's a TGZ compressed file. So first, let's extract the file. I want to extract the file on my desktop, so first I go to my desktop and then tar xvzf download GROMACS sample input. Okay, and it create this folder, so let's go inside the folder. Here we have two files, a PDB file and a MDP file. First, we process the PDB file by gmx pdb to gmx command, and pdb to gmx is a GROMACS command, and it doesn't work if you didn't install the GROMACS. And at least it needs two options, the name of PDB file and the name of output file, protein.grow. And then it asks you a few questions. You select the force field, you just select the number 15, OPLS, and then it asks the water model, and here you just select the number 1, and it's done. Okay, now GROMACS must produce a few files. I can check them by ls command. Okay, a simulation needs 3 files at least, a PDB file, MDP file, and a top topology file. And before simulation, you have to combine these 3 files by gmx gromp command, and it takes a few options. The F options, which takes the MDP file, and P options, which takes topology file, C options, which takes the coordinate file, protein.grow, and O option, which specify the name of the combined file. Let's name it em.tpr. Okay, Gromp gives me an error. Actually, it's a warning which says the system is not neutral and has a net charge that can cause some artifacts, but because it's just a test simulation, we can ignore it. So I re-entered the command and add a max 1 to it. It's done. Okay, now we can run the simulation by gmx md run v def and em. Okay, this command performs the main simulation and it takes a few seconds. Okay, it's done, and you have successfully installed GROMACS on a Linux machine. Now let's move on to a Windows system and install GROMACS on Windows. Okay, now we are in a Windows system. It's a Windows 10, and what we're gonna do here is that first we install a Linux inside the Windows, and then install GROMACS on the Linux. And for doing that, we use Windows Subsystem for Linux, which is some sort of virtualization. So what we're gonna do is essentially installing GROMACS on a virtual machine. Although we can compile and install GROMACS directly on a Windows machine, but there's no point in doing so, because A, GROMACS works better in Linux, and B, using GROMACS in Linux is much easier. So first, let's install Ubuntu in this Windows system. Okay, in the past, if you wanted to install a Linux on a Windows machine, you had to use a virtual software like Oracle VirtualBox. But from Windows 10, there's a feature inside Windows called Windows Subsystem that can do virtualization for you. And because Windows Subsystem is more integrated inside Windows system, we use this instead of virtual machine software. And actually installing Linux on a Windows Subsystem is an easy task. All you need to do is first enabling Windows Subsystem and then install Ubuntu or any Linux on the Windows Subsystem. Okay, I'm typing features here and then select 10 Windows features on or off. And then here I select Windows Subsystem for Linux and then OK. After that, you have to restart your system. After restarting your computer, find and open Microsoft Store. And then here you can search Ubuntu. I'm going to install Ubuntu 2020.04. That is the latest version of Ubuntu long-term support at the moment. And then press install. And okay, after downloading Ubuntu, we can open it from here, but for everyday use, it's easier to find it from the start menu. It takes a few minutes and then you have to enter a username. Let's name it Dirac and a new password. Okay, it's a minimum installation. It doesn't have any graphical user interface, but it's quite sufficient because for running GROMACS, we don't need any graphics and you can do graphical jobs inside the Windows. Now let's install GROMACS inside the Ubuntu. First, I'm going to update the Ubuntu database by sudo apt update. And then install GROMACS by sudo apt install GROMACS. And yes. Okay, GROMACS is ready. Let's run a test simulation. Okay, here I have a sample input file on my desktop. You can download this file from the InSilicoZ website. I'll leave the link in the description box. So let's use this file to run a test simulation. First, I'm going to create a new folder and name it simulations. Now we need to find the sample input file and copy it here in the simulation folder. Okay, every time you open the subsystem Linux, it puts you into your home directory. That for me is home Dirac, but Windows files are in /mnt folder. And here I have 3 drives, C, D, and F. And my desktop is in the C drive, so let's find it. ls mnt C, and they are Windows files. They are files in the C drive, and the desktop is in the users. And my username Hossein, and then desktop, and the sample input file name is GROMACS sample input.tgz. Okay, the ls command just show the file, but for copying the file I use the cp command. So let's change it in cp, and I want to copy it into simulation folder. Now I have the file in the simulation folder, and I go inside simulation folder and extract the file by tar xvzf and file name. The simulation process is exactly as what we did on Ubuntu. First, let's go inside the GROMACS sample input folder. Now we can process the PDB file by gmx pdb to gmx command and f the pdb file name and o protein.grow. Okay, here select a force field. I select 15, and then water model I select tip 3p, and it's done. Now we have a coordinate GRO file, a topology file, and input option MDP file. So let's combine all of this file into a TPR file. Okay, we have a warning which says the system is not neutral, but it's okay, and we can skip it by max 1 option. Now we can run our simulation by gmx md run v def nm em command. Okay, it's done. Let's test it again and see how it uses the system CPU. You can see that it uses 100% of my CPU, which is quite good. Another way to install GROMACS is by compiling the GROMACS source code, and arguably it is the hardest method to install GROMACS. So why would you want to compile GROMACS from its source code? A, because by this method you can have the latest version of GROMACS, and B, you may want to compile GROMACS with a special feature like the ability to run on GPUs. And also you may have a very special hardware or operating system that you can't find any binary file for them. Today I'm going to install GROMACS with GPU support on my system. And for compiling a CODA-enabled GROMACS which supports NVIDIA GPUs, there are a few prerequisites. You must have a decent NVIDIA graphic card, and you also have to install CODA Toolkit and your graphic card driver. So first, I'm going to show you how to install CODA Toolkit and graphic card driver. And actually, it's a really easy task. Just Google NVIDIA CODA Toolkit download and then go to NVIDIA CODA Toolkit website. Here I choose Linux, and then if your computer have an AMD or Intel CPU, just choose x86_64 and then choose your Linux distribution. I have a Ubuntu and its version is 2020.04. And here it suggests 3 different ways to install CODA Toolkit. I found the local run file method is the best and the least error-prone method. Okay, here it gives you the instructions to install CODA Toolkit. The first command, download the run file. So I copy it and cd downloads and paste the command and press enter. It's a relatively big file and it takes a few minutes to download it. The file has downloaded, and now you can install the run file by running the second command. It takes a few seconds, and then here I type accept. And then here you choose what you want to install. We don't need Coda demo and Coda documents, and if you already have a Coda driver for your graphic card, you can uncheck this option and just install Coda Toolkit. Okay, and then press install. Okay, I already installed the Coda Toolkit and Coda driver, so I'm not gonna install them again. But if you don't have them, all you need to do is to follow this procedure until it says you have installed the Coda Toolkit on your computer, and then restart your computer. Okay, now let's download the GROMACS source code from its website. And here I click on this link. Okay, after downloading the source code file, you need to extract the file somewhere in your computer. I'm gonna extract the file on my desktop, so cd desktop and then xvzf downloads GROMACS TAGZ. This is the file that we just downloaded, and then as you can see, it creates a new folder in my desktop. So go inside the folder by cd GROMACS 2023 and then press enter. Okay, to compile GROMACS code, we need a compiler and a few other applications. You've probably already have them on your computer, but just to be sure, run this command. And yes. Okay, it's done. Now I create a new folder named build inside GROMACS folder, and then go inside this new folder. And here I run this command. Here dgmx GPU on states that you want to make GPU enabled binary file. dgmx hwlock actually is not necessary, but it makes GROMACS to have a better estimate of simulation time. And this make install prefix specifies where the GROMACS will be installed. Okay, I press enter and it says dgmx GPU must be Coda. Apparently they changed some options, and enter. Okay, it's done and I get no error. So now I can make the code by make J8, and J8 specifies that I want to use 8 CPU cores to compile the code because I want to accelerate the compilation, and press enter. Okay, it takes a few minutes to compile all of the code. After compilation, you can install the code by this command sudo make install and enter. Okay, now the installation is complete. So first, let's check where is the binary file. Opt GROMACS bin. Here you can see that we have the GMX file, which is the main GROMACS binary file. And now all you have to do is to source this GMX RC bash file in your bash RC file. So let's do it. I copy this path and then open my bash RC file. And at the end of the file, I add a new file source. paste the path, and at the end I add the name of gmx rc.bash, and after that save the file. Okay, now we need to restart the shell, exit, and reopen the terminal window, and let's test the GROMACS by gmx-h command. Okay, it's done. Now we have the latest version of GROMACS with GPU support. Alright, that's it for today's lesson. I hope you found it useful. You can put your answers in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. That's a terrific way to support us. Thank you for watching.